Alright, this is tutorial 3. We're going to make a wine glass using a image in our viewport to use as a template. So we'll go ahead and first we need to bring in our image. So I'm going to go to my four-way view and then go to my front view. So now that we've got the front view selected, we just need to import our image. So if we go over here to our attribute manager and we go to mode, we roll on down here and there is our view settings. So basically this will set up whatever the view settings are for the window you have selected. So we can go to our back right here, and this is our background, and then right here we can bring in an image. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this, go to my files, and I've got a wine glass JPEG. Open it up, and there we go. So we've got this JPEG of a wine glass, and it's already set up centered, so you don't have to worry about that. We can see we're right on that y-axis. If we wanted to, we can always offset it, your image, so just going with these guys. If you needed to scale it as well or rotate it if you took a photo and it was a little off axis, then you could do that. But I'm going to go back ahead and just re-zero those two out, and we're in good shape. Alright, so now that we've got that set up, we can go ahead and start drawing our spline. Now there's a couple things you could do. You could start with a linear spline and draw it out roughly and then go back in and change your points to Bezier handles and go that route. But we'll go ahead and just sort of draw it with a Bezier. And I'm going to sort of zoom in a little so I can see what's going on. And I'm going to just start with my Bezier here. And when we're doing this wine glass, we're going to want to make sure we do the inside and the outside. So I'm going to start at the top, and I'm just going to loosely follow this. So I'm going to figure out what my thickness is. Zoom in a little. If your axes get in the way, Option D will hide those. So a lot of times when drawing splines, I'll go ahead and do that just so I don't have my axis in the way. So let me zoom out. So we'll click here and drag, get a little, maybe here a little bit. Again, we'll be able to tweak this if we need to once we get it in our lathe. So I'm just drawing my points, trying to get my curve there. And this base is kind of in a perspective angle, so we'll go ahead and just, draw it off a little bit and then go back to our center. Then we need to go up the center of the stem. And then we'll go back, get our thickness going. And then let me just come up here. I can either hit close spline, or I could have clicked on that point. Now I'm going to go ahead and Option D to bring my axis back. And if we go into point mode and our move tool, we can go in here and we can move our splines around. Now these top two, I just sort of did a linear interpolation on them, so they're just angles, hard angles. So if I go to my select tool, do rectangle selection, select both of those, we can go back and do the chamfer, which we did before on our chair, and just click and drag out here in the viewport, and we can get a little edge to that so it doesn't look as sharp. And maybe come down here. Drag this in a little. If I go to my move tool by hitting E, I can grab my handles, try and smooth out that edge. Same here. Gonna bring it in a little. Just try and keep it pretty similar through here. Down here the glass would actually get thicker, so that's probably fine. This looks a little rough. Maybe pull that out. Okay. Now a couple things you do want to make sure when you're doing a lathe is you want to make sure your points are on your spline. So I'm kind of done with my background image, so I'm going to go ahead and turn that off just so I can see what else is going on. So again, I'll go to Mode, View Settings, and then just uncheck Show Picture. So now we can see what we've got here. Now this one's a little funky, so I'm going to go ahead and adjust that guy. So maybe you can hold Shift if you want to break your angle. Okay, that might be, it's a little better. And then what I want to do is make sure my bottom 2 points are lined up. So if I go to have those both selected, and I go to my size here in the center, if I hit 0 on that, it's going to center those out on each other. So I'm going to hit 0 and apply. And now we know those are both lined up perfectly together. And I did that on the Y because we wanted the height to be the same on those. If we had drawn this on the ground plane, we could always just set it over here to 0 on the Y. Now for our X, we want our center points to definitely be at 0. Oops, undo that. So I'm going to select that one and this one. And now we want to make sure that is at 0 on our position. So I'm going to hit 0 there and enter. And that makes sure they're right on there. And we can look over here at our size of those two, and it's 0 centimeters, so they're lined up and they're both on 0. And we've got our wine glass spline here. So now all we have to do is get our lathe, which is up here, with our loft or our NURBS objects. So a lathe basically takes any spline, rotates it around a central axis. So if we drag it into the lathe, then we've got our wine glass. So if we look over here, there it is. So again, we could go back while this is all still editable while we're in here. We can do whatever we need to do. We also, in our lathe, we can adjust our rotation segments, our subdivisions. So if we look at this and it looks a little like we can see these guys, the facets, that's just in your lathe, your subdivision. So if we start bringing that up, you can see it smooths it out. So maybe you'd want to go up to 48, depending how close you're going to get. That's definitely a lot smoother. So if we're only going to see this, at this distance, it's going to be fine. Okay. Now if we wanted to give this, let's call it wine glass. And we can give it a little texture. So in here, let's go to the Basic tab. And we will turn on our transparency. And maybe bring it down to 90%, the brightness. So we can see it. We don't want it totally clear. Then let's just grab this, put it up here, and we render. Again, we don't really have anything to view here. So let me double click that. Let's do 95. And if you want, you could go to Basic, turn on a little reflection for your glass. And there we go. So our wine glass, go ahead and copy. We'll move it back over into our old table scene here. Paste it. and it's a little big, but that's okay. We can always scale it down. So I'm going to raise it up so it's up here somewhere, and then let's just scale it down to what we think will be appropriate for the scene. Hit O to zoom in on it so we can really line that right up with the tabletop. And we can also see that our cheese is floating a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and grab that cheese group and bring that down so it's right on the table. Alright, so if we wanted 4 of those, again, we could just do our array and drag our wine glass into the array. Change it again to 3 copies. And let's go a little bit smaller. And then we can always rotate our array, and then we can get those guys a little offset. So there we go. And then let's just move it up. If your object you've got selected is out of your view, if you click on the little blue arrow that's telling you which direction it's in, it'll move you down so you can center it up. So if you ever don't know where your object is, that little blue arrow will help you out. Hit O to center in so I can get these right on the table. And zoom out a little bit. And there's our exciting table, chairs, cheese, and wine glasses. Okay, so I'll be uploading some more tutorials. This one was just so basically about using the lathe object, also putting in a background image for modeling off of. A lot of times you can do a front view and a side view and a top view if you have those photos or technical drawings, and it can really make the modeling process that much more precise and also that much easier just to use. Alright, well, thanks for watching, and I'll be back with another one in a bit.